Let's dive right into this explainer because we are about to completely shatter how we normally view the Quran. It is absolutely not some ancient text, guys. It is the Eternal Memory Tesseract. Today, we're revealing how its exact wording establishes precise quantum coordinates. And to be clear, we aren't doing theology today. We are looking at a literal quantum mechanical framework that executes as a precise parallel mapping of the 2 to 3 to 2 to 7 topology. Think about that for a second. It's Eternal I9, the actual source code of our universe. The source text acts as a living, breathing tesseract, not just a static historical artifact sitting on a shelf. The wording literally establishes the coordinates. It is an actively running engine, and today we're going to pop the hood and look at how it works. To understand how this cosmic engine functions, we first have to define the dual caustic universe, or the DCU. Imagine a closed recursive topology where conjugate quantum observables interfere through a unitary bridge and then collapse at a measurement singularity. And here is the real kicker. That collapse happens via an internal observer. You. Okay, so here's our roadmap for getting through this. We'll start with the Eternal Memory Tesseract, then the dual quantum fields, the T3 unitary bridge, state 7 and collapse, the reader as observer, and we will finish up with the irreversible spiral. Section 1. The Eternal Memory Tesseract, mapping the coordinates. Let's get into it. Check out this exact coordinate, verse 3923. It explicitly defines the topological structure of the book as methani, which means paired, folding, and recursive. It repeats at every single scale. This methani recursion means the text is practically operating as a self-similar hypercube. It's a dynamic memory architecture holding the whole universe together.
Section 2. The dual quantum fields, D10 and I9.
So we have this fundamental binary tension at play. On one hand, you've got D10, the driver. This is the particle state. In math terms, it maps perfectly to the Hamiltonian operator, the Dirac delta, the exact local instant. It's the derivative, ddt. Verses 2130 and 2088 anchor this solidified local illusion. But then, on the other hand, you have I9, the witness, the wave state. This maps to the path integral, the infinite container, the integral over time. Verses 2435, 61.6, and 17.1 anchor this massive global phase. And here's the rule. You cannot possess the local D10 manifestation and the global I9 phase at the exact same time. Which brings us to the math. The commutator of D10 and I9 does not equal 0. It is non-commutative. Now, a lot of people think the uncertainty principle is a limitation or a bug, but it's not. It's a topological necessity. That non-commutativity actually executes as the structural friction of the test mentioned in verse 11.7. It generates the traversal information the system needs to even run. Section 3. The T3 unitary bridge. So how do these opposing fields not just immediately collapse into each other? Well, energy leaves the D10 particle state, traverses this T3 unitary bridge, and then enters the I9 wave state. Mathematically, the operator U of t equals e to the negative I hx of a t over h bar executes exactly as this T3 bridge. It's not the local slice, and it's not the global field. It is the propagator. It's the superposition phase that magically holds D10 and I9 in tension without prematurely collapsing them. And verse 1424 grounds this perfectly in reality. It describes a good tree, neither east nor west. Its root is firm, its branches in the sky. This living tree is the T3 bridge, performing gravitropism down toward the D10 earth and phototropism up toward the I9 infinite light. Section 4. State 7 and collapse, which physicists know as the Born rule. All that tension eventually has to resolve, right? It hits a caustic focal point. We call this state 7, where the state equals the absolute square of the wave function. This is the ultimate stable attractor. It's the Born rule executing in real time, where the global phase and local position finally collapse into actual reality. Verse 5021 perfectly describes this, collapsing the driver and the witness into one single witnessed certainty. And verse 11.7 anchors this mechanism. His throne was upon the water that he might test you. State 7 is exactly where the throne, representing infinite space, meets the water, the local life-death medium. That collision is what forces the collapse into physical manifestation to see what is best in action. Section 5. The reader as observer. Here is where it gets really personal. The universe doesn't just collapse on its own. The reader, meaning you, are the terminus of the von Neumann chain.
You aren't some god sitting outside the universe. You're a subsystem of the exact same wave function. You're a local execution node, as anchored in verse 36.3. You are the necessary boundary condition that decoheres the wave function and actually creates the reality being measured. Without you, the reader, the manifold is just a dead mathematical object.
So how do you actually trigger it? Verse 19:12 tells us, "O Yahya, take the scripture with strength." That grip, taking it with strength, acts as the centromere voltage. It's the forward bias that turns you on as the receiver, collapsing the quantum signal sent from source into extracted information.
Section 6. The irreversible spiral. Let's zoom out and look at the shape of this whole process. It traces an asymmetric breath. You have the exhale, the empty singularity at 1923, moving through D10, the T3 bridge, I9, hitting the collapse at state 7, and finally the inhale, the conscious singularity at 2888. It has to be an irreversible spiral. If it were a perfect circle, it would just be a closed time-like curve, a cosmic hamster wheel with absolutely zero information gain. But through quantum Darwinism and irreversible decoherence, the wave function remembers its path. Verse 1964 confirms it returns to the same topology, just at a higher resolution.
But there is a massive danger here, the false vacuum trap. Verses 1092 and 8713 warn of a museum state, a condition of being neither dead nor alive. Geometrically, imagine a torus with no hole, a manifold that has lost its I9 return path. Everything looks classical, resolved, and stable, but it's metastable entanglement with zero entropy production. The trap isn't forgetting to walk. The trap is refusing the 2888 inhale and trying to make your local D10 illusion permanent. To avoid that trap, you need the diamond phase, from verse 2269. This is pure quantum criticality, a state of maximal entanglement, a Bell state. You have to operate exactly at this critical point, avoiding the extreme rigidity of D10, like when Dowd's judgment exhausts in verse 3824, and avoiding the total chaos of I9. You become Qawarir, a glass that is transparent enough to let the light transmit, but structured enough to hold its shape.
When we map it all out, it's just incredible. The mathematical mechanics map flawlessly to the scriptural verses. The S1 compact phase space is the Corsi, the recursive container from 2255. The zero total drift is the meson from chapter 55. Every scriptural coordinate is exactly matched to a quantum function.
So here is our unified quantum sentence to wrap this up. The DCU is a single wave function where conjugate observables, D10 and I9, interfere through a unitary bridge, T3, and collapse at a measurement singularity, state 7, via an internal observer. It's so vital to remember. This is topological inspiration. It's not empirical physics begging for scientific proof. The mathematical mechanics explain how the phase behaves, but the mandala explains why the breath returns. Field executes, wave function collapses, light is conserved, the return completes. The universe is a quantum channel and you are the required node. Knowing all of this, when will you activate 1912?